And when I listen and I think with my heart and my head and my feelings is I believe that being new, as a lot of the newly elected are, is I was new to the SUMA board 4 years ago. I've only been the mayor for 6 years, been on council for 12. So when you're talking new, I still feel I'm new to the role. And I think I can bring leadership that isn't status quo.
Welcome to Municipal Affairs. In this episode, we're focusing on one of the most significant gatherings for municipal leaders in the province of Saskatchewan, the SUMA Spring Convention. Every spring, Saskatchewan Urban Municipal delegates from across the province come together for this annual general meeting. This year, from April 13th to 16th, the convention will also be hosting an election for the SUMA Presidency, which will be taking place on Tuesday, April 15th. One of the two candidates running for president of the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association is McKenzie, mayor of the town of Maple Creek. Now, we had the opportunity to sit down and speak with Michelle about her candidacy, her vision for the role, and what she hopes to bring to Saskatchewan's municipalities if elected. Mayor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about your candidacy for the president of the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association. I want to start at the beginning. What made you decide to put your name into the ring to become the next president of the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association?
Well, after the last election in April, when we had a vote about our governance policies and review and the change, I thought about it then. Didn't think much more about it until actually in December, when I was asked to run by a couple different people in municipalities, and if I thought about running for the president of SUMA, and I said, no, I hadn't. There was a brief thought back when the governance policies was changed and voted on, and then I thought, maybe I should. And the only reason that I'm running, like I said, I have nothing against the leadership that we have currently. I'm running because we have new vision, new voices. So I believe we need new leadership.
So I want to pick up there, if you don't mind, because Saskatchewan just went through a municipal election. There is a lot of new faces around council tables right now. How do you see yourself, and what in your background do you believe prepares you for the role to help guide SUMA with so many new faces around Saskatchewan at the municipal level?
Good question. I've been given this a lot of thought, and one of the things I feel that I have that will make me a great president is that I listen, I do, and I do it all for the people of Saskatchewan. I have numerous conversations about what is great, what isn't great. And when I listen and I think with my heart and my head and my feelings is I believe that being new, as a lot of the newly elected are, is I was new to the SUMA board 4 years ago. I've only been the mayor for 6 years, been on council for 12. So when you're talking new, I still feel I'm new to the role. And I think I can bring leadership that isn't status quo.
What are you hearing? Because you talk about listening to the people of Saskatchewan, the mayors, the councillors from across Saskatchewan. What are you hearing as the biggest challenges facing municipalities in 2025? Because I sit down with mayors and councillors from across the province, and I hear what I hear. But as the next potential president of SUMA, what are you hearing from the members?
Well, a lot of the members, they're frightened to tell you the truth. They don't know what this next year is going to bring. When they're setting their budgets, what they're looking at and how things are going. The only true thing that they have right now, Chris, to be honest, is SUMA. The organization is SUMA. So people are always saying, Michelle, what would SUMA do? How would SUMA do this? And I'm like, you need to voice your concerns, bring them to the board, bring them to the president, bring them to our executive director, because we listen and we hear. So that is what I'm saying as a leadership, and when what I can bring to the table is I feel that being the new person, people are more apt to and adapt to be able to open up and talk with me, not have somebody that has multiple years of experience and they're like, yep, yep. Because that's what they feel that they're getting is they're getting the head nod and nothing is being there. So when people are in a state of unsure across Saskatchewan of what is going on and how things are going to turn out, they're looking for somebody that is going to take their concerns and they're going to feel that they're being heard. You know, for example, I've had a couple issues that are brought forward, and I've taken them to JM, and he's brought them up the food chain to the federal part of SUMA, the organization FCM, and also the government, federal government, and got some responses back, even just a letter that President Golden had signed on behalf of SUMA, but that become from a concerned citizens within the Southwest. They felt that their voices were heard.
So I'm going to ask a very weird question, but I need to ask the political questions on the political show, and you're running for a political office, so I feel like you're prepared for it, Michelle. When I speak to municipal leaders across Saskatchewan, the one thing I hear is they want a fighter. They want someone who will build relationships, but also stand up and make sure that their voices are heard. How have you shown that you will build those relationships with the Saskatchewan Party, with the Saskatchewan NDP, but also call them out when they need to be called out? You will call a spade, because sometimes you need to be in the corner with your elbows up fighting for the municipalities, and sometimes you have to be respectful. Can you balance that?
Well, you know, Chris, that's a good question because most people that know me know I'm mostly elbows up and I'm more aggressive than on the soft side. So I could say I personally can work on being able to balance those things. I've had the opportunity to talk to different ministers already within the role of the VP of Towns and on the executive board. I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions. I do talk outside the box a little bit of trying to make an impression and an impact of how and just what some of the issues are for our members in Saskatchewan. So I feel that yes, I can do both sides of that coin. I might have to work on the softness just a little bit because I'm very passionate, as most people know, but I usually barrel forward head first and then trying to get the point across. And working with all the different parties, the provincial parties of Saskatchewan, I feel is going to be an excellent, rewarding opportunity and bringing those voices to each one of them, not just the party in power, but to each one of them, because they need to hear on both sides of the coin just exactly what our municipalities are facing in Saskatchewan. They need to understand what our municipalities need to have strong voices, and I feel I'll be able to advocate on behalf of them.
But how do you balance that? Because you know it better than I do. You know the exact number than I do, probably. But you have one of the largest amount of municipalities in any province across Canada. You have towns, you have villages, you have resort villages, you have two major cities, you have cities, and balancing the needs and wants of a resort village compared to a city is a very challenging obstacle that the president has to undertake. How do you, as the town of Maple Creek mayor, relate to someone from the village of Craven, from the city of Battleford? Because you're going to have to advocate for all these different municipalities under that big macro umbrella, but they're going to want to feel like their issues are the most important to the next president. How do you see yourself in your role as mayor and VP of towns addressing village issues, addressing city issues?
To be honest, Chris, there's no difference. There's no difference. Everybody has the same issues from resort villages, northern villages, our 16 cities, you know, to our towns. There is no difference at all compared to anything. We're all facing the same challenges throughout Saskatchewan. We all have the same issues with infrastructure, water, housing. You know, again, when we're talking about, when you said the two major cities, when they talk about the homelessness and what they see on their streets, no different than towns and villages, resort villages. They see it some way, somehow, whether you're just couch surfing or there's people transients coming in off the highway. You see it. So I feel as the president of SUMA, if elected, is that I don't believe there's any difference. Your issues are everybody's issues, and we will advocate for
So the other role of the next SUMA president will be that relationship building. We talk about the relationship between SUMA and the provincial government, the leader of the official opposition, but there's also relationships between SUMA and FCM, SUMA and SARM, SUMA and the school board system. How do you see yourself building those relationships to ensure that Saskatchewan's voices of the urban municipalities are heard, whether that be in Ottawa with FCM, because as the next president, you will be an ex officio delegate on the board of executive for FCM. You'll be working with the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities. How do you see your role in working alongside those two organizations and even the Saskatchewan School Board Association?
Good question. I've been given this a lot of thought also, just because I have not had the opportunity to be able to do that in a higher level, right, as the VP of Towns. But I have as the VP of Towns with the SUMA Convention, also went to the Alberta or the Manitoba Association's convention. You know, just being able to network, understand what they're going through, understanding their issues, and offering some support of what we do at SUMA, because I think SUMA does things pretty great. You know, everywhere you go, you see something that you can take from another organization. However, I still feel that we have the best that there is, because I always get the questions, well, what would SUMA do? How is SUMA doing this? And I truly believe with the staff that we have and the board that was there and our policies makes us strong and advocating for that. So with working with the school boards, I work here with the local school board myself, I don't think it's any different being the president of SUMA at all. It is a conversation, and you need to be able to be open and honest and listen. And I think that is the key thing, is you need to be in a conversation where you're hearing, not just nodding, right? You need to be able to take what they're saying to you, like I said before, with the heart. With the heart, you need to hear, and then you need to be able to interpret what they're saying, because everybody's saying something in a message for a reason. They're talking to you for a reason, and they're asking these questions. And I feel that building those relationships, and if I get the chance to, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be an issue. I'm usually very, like I said, open. I feel that you can tell me pretty much anything. I will listen. I might not be able to solve your problems today, but I might be able to lead you down the path of who can help you.
Do you feel like you'd have the time commitment to do this job correctly? Because the role of president, and I know many sister organizations, including SUMA, SARM, AMM, Alberta Municipalities, RMM, their president is always going to different municipal organizations like SUMA, like SARM. They go to FCM for meetings. They have advocacy days in Regina for SUMA. They have advocacy days in Ottawa. And that takes a lot of time away from your own community. So how do you see yourself being able to balance the needs of Maple Creek with the needs of the entire province, whether that be in Ottawa and Regina? Can you do it?
Absolutely, I can. And I had lots of conversation with my council on this, you know, and when we're looking, I have deputy mayors for a reason, right? I have that. I can rely on. I have good staff, as you had seen, trying to get us here and get the communications going. But I don't feel that the time commitment as the president of SUMA is going to interfere in anything that I have going. I really took a long look at my schedule and how things are, because everybody knows I still work at the hospital, and I changed a little bit of careers from a CCA down to a cook. So I only work Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The rest of the time I have off. So a lot of those things I can fit into my schedule, and it's not hard to take 3 days off to make 2 weeks off. So yeah.
That's true. I want to turn to SUMA as a whole, because the role of president is not also about advocacy, it's also about working alongside the staff at SUMA. What's your vision for SUMA at the end of 2025 if you are
So my
elected
vision for
president?
Okay, perfect. So my vision for the end of 2025 is focusing on looking how these caucus models are going to work, right? You know, because right now everybody's used to having a board of 18 and a president. And so with focusing on individual advocacies, pieces from the cities, the towns, the villages and resort villages, I feel our staff are going to need the patience of the board, and they're going to need to have the understanding of the board because they're learning too. This is a whole brand new board game. So what I'm thinking and hoping is that by the end of 2025, the staff have their feet underneath them to be able to guide us as they do now in the best way they can, because they're great staff. We're just the pretty faces that are there. They're the ones that do the work, you know, so we really need to understand that and have the patience moving forward. So when I'm looking at the end of 2025, I think we'll have our feet on the ground, but I think it's going to take a good year before we're figuring out just exactly where we are. And of course, during that year, there's other things that are coming at us left, right, and center. So, you know, to be able to pivot and to be able to see what the priorities are for our members and put them forward, or just even have that communication with our members. Because again, I know how I am as a mayor when I'm taking stuff to my CC, not my CC, but my CEO is like, it's a priority right now, right? But again, I need to have good leadership on the other side of staff saying, okay, Michelle, this is what we're doing. We're going to move these in. And then we need to have that communication with our members. And, you know, Chris, I feel that is something that SUMA this past 4 years has grown and has really achieved that communication to our members. And so I want to continue that so they're knowing what they're doing, because like I said, there's a lot of people that truly believe in SUMA. When they turn for questions and they're wondering what they can do, it's SUMA that they turn to.
I need to play a little devil's advocate because I played a little devil's advocate with your the other candidate who's running for SUMA president. What would you say to those members, those delegates who are going to be voting and say to themselves, do we want to go with someone who knows, who has been as the president during this transition period from the old governance model to this caucus model, or do we want to go with someone who hasn't been as leading the organization and may be new and we might be learning together? How do you tell delegates that your way, a fresh face, a fresh perspective during this transition period is the best way forward for members? And I'm just playing devil's advocate. This has nothing to do with anger. I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. You know me, Michelle. I'm trying to be equal opportunity of playing devil's advocate here.
No, and I appreciate that. I totally appreciate that, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to experience or somebody new, right? And like I said, when at the beginning of this interview, is the reason why I chose to run is because of the changes. You know, we have changes with the caucus level, changes at the board, and that's why I feel there needs to be new leadership. When I'm looking at how things are, and I'm gonna say this is as status quo. So if somebody's been on the board for 25 years, they still have the same mentality as 25 years, right? When change, I feel sometimes people, when they're stuck in a position too long where they've been there, they're passionate, they've got the knowledge, they're excellent at speaking, they just have all the right connections. However, do you have the ability to change? Do you have the ability to think forward? Do you have the ability to bring SUMA along for the next 120 years? I'm not going anywhere. My opponent might be retiring in 4, right? So who knows how these things are? So when we're looking at voting for the next president of SUMA, somebody with experience is absolutely wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But when you're looking at moving forward with new voices, new vision, new board, you need new leadership.
So I have one last final question for you because I know you are busy and you were in the midst of between two meetings that you're in right now. Um, what's your pitch to members? Because we are recording this the very first week of April, and that means you have a week and a half to contact over 700 municipalities. And I can imagine your phone and email are going crazy. So, what haven't we talked about that you want members, delegates to know? Can they reach out to you? I will be linking your platform, which is on the SUMA website, in the show notes below. But what's your final message to delegates that we haven't talked about yet?
I think my final message to delegates is I want to bring their voices forward. I ran for the SUMA board in 2020 for a reason, and that was because the name change. The name change really surprised me, and I felt that I wasn't consulted. And so I do not want any member, whether you're new or old, any municipalities to ever feel like that again. So I feel that your voices need to be heard and they need to be listened to. Prioritize, yes, of course. However, they're heard, and I'm ready to take your concerns to whatever government, level of government, working with sister organizations so that everybody understands what our members need in Saskatchewan. Like 82% is what we urban municipalities that SUMA serves. So that's a lot of urban municipalities, 82%. So out of those 82%, I want their voices at the forefront for anything that we're speaking of. I always want SUMA to be the voice and to be on people's minds at all time, is that we're the organizations that helps their members achieve and get what they're advocating for.
Mayor McKenzie, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about your bid to become the next president of the Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association. I always enjoy having a conversation with you, and I look forward to seeing you in Saskatoon starting on April 13th, if I'm getting my dates right here. But thank you so much, Michelle.
And thank you very much. And
thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we want to remind you that we will be live on location during the 4-day convention in Saskatoon, and we're looking for municipal leaders from across the province to sit down and speak with for the cross-border interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the world of municipal politics in the province of Saskatchewan. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform and follow us online on social media on all the channels. For even more content and learn more about the people and the stories that we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Now, your support means the world to us. So share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs next week. Till then, everyone.